For Back to School Week, we are here to help answer all the questions, get some advice on important topics for parents and students. We have Dr. Sarah Collins-McGowan from URMC here, a pediatric specialist. I'm glad we're going to tackle a lot this week. I want to start with, now that we've got some kids back, some going to school the next couple of days, getting back into the routine. Sleep, getting up and going. What's your number one best tip for families?
Yeah, so kids tend to get way off schedule during the summer, and getting them back on track at the beginning of the school year is definitely really important. So I think number one tip is just having a really consistent bedtime and wake up time as you're trying to get that sleep schedule kind of back the way you want it. So thinking about for kids how much sleep they need. For younger kids, they're looking at about 9 to 12 hours of sleep. For your teenagers, more like kind of 8 to 10 hours of sleep. So that should give you a place to start of what your goal is going to be, and then you can kind of adjust, figure out when their bedtime needs to be, when their wake up time needs to be, and shift a little bit accordingly.
How do you balance, and I'm right there with a 4-year-old, of trying to force it, let's get this schedule, versus what their body clock is on until it can find some middle ground?
Yeah, so if your kid's really far off from kind of that goal schedule, doing little shifts at a time is going to be the most helpful in terms of getting them back on track. So you're not going to try to have them go to bed hours earlier than they have been all summer, but doing 15 or 20 minutes earlier, getting up 15 or 20 minutes earlier, and continuing to kind of do that until you're at your goal is going to be the best way to shift that schedule. And then making sure that, even on weekends, even on days off of school, that they're more or less around the same bedtime and the same wake-up time is going to help get back on that routine faster. Like you said, our bodies like to be in a kind of a natural rhythm, and so the more consistent you can be, the more adjusted kids will get more quickly.
And finally, we know part of that means keeping the screens away. Try to do all day, especially at night, because it's been this phrase, the digital pacifier, for some people, for the youngest kids, but now we've got high schoolers with phones and tablets. What's your best advice on limiting that?
Yeah, so for younger kids, when you're thinking about screens, I think that really the key is quality. You want to make sure that what they're doing is watching quality educational videos, or doing games where there's a learning component to it. And really the best thing that you can be doing as a parent or caregiver is sitting right with them during that time, engaging with them, building on what they're learning, and kind of using that as a bonding experience. And then for your older kids, you really want to start thinking about safety for sure. So familiarize yourself with whatever parental controls come with your children's devices, know how to use those, set limits, make sure they can't get to adult content, that sort of thing, and talk to them. Start an early conversation about how to stay safe online, how to make sure they're not giving out private information, how to think really critically about the kind of content they're engaging with, how it's making them feel, especially for your teens when you're thinking about their mental health, and helping kind of walk that through and keeping a really open dialogue with your kids.
That's 2 topics we're addressing here. A reminder, if you've missed any of our segments this week, you can find all that with our doctors from URMC at rochesterfirst.com.